Hey Reddit, I'm coming here because I honestly don't know who else to talk to without sounding like a total mess. I'm a 34-year-old guy, married for 6 years to what I thought was my best friend and soulmate. We met in college, had a whirlwind romance, and for a long time, I really believed we were perfect together. We bought a house, talked about kids, and everyone said we were the couple goals. But somewhere along the way, maybe around year 4 or 5, things started to change. Not dramatically, not in a way you'd immediately notice if you weren't paying attention, but subtle enough to make me feel like something was off. At first, I chalked it up to normal marriage stuff, work stress, just the usual ups and downs. She got a bit more distant, started spending more time on her phone, and seemed a lot more busy all the time. The weirdest part was how defensive she got whenever I asked simple questions. Like, I'd ask, "Hey, who were you texting so late last night?" And she'd snap at me, saying things like, "Why do you always have to pry? Or are you seriously going to make this a thing again?" I tried to back off, told myself I was probably just being paranoid. But it kept happening, late nights out with friends, always working late, random unexplained expenses on our joint card. And she suddenly became super secretive with her phone, setting new passwords, hiding it under pillows, taking it everywhere. That was unlike her at all. I felt myself getting anxious, but I hated the idea of accusing her of something without proof. I wanted to trust her. She used to be so open with me, so loving. But now? Every time I tried to connect, she seemed to pull away more and more. So yeah, that's where I was at for months, stuck between trying to trust and feeling like I was being lied to. I didn't want to believe it, but a small voice in my head kept whispering, "What if?" That's when the first real crack showed up, something I couldn't ignore anymore. I'm about to tell you exactly how I found out she was cheating, but honestly, I'm still shocked thinking about it. So, here's how I accidentally discovered the truth. It was a random Tuesday evening. She told me she had to work late, again. But something felt off. I was restless, couldn't sleep, and ended up going downstairs to get a glass of water around midnight. That's when I saw it. Her phone, left unlocked on the kitchen counter. I don't even know why I looked at it. Maybe some weird gut feeling pushed me. The screen was lit up with a message preview from some guy named Mark, nothing too crazy, just casual texts at first, but then I saw the last message, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Miss you." My heart stopped. I put the phone down and walked away immediately, trying to convince myself I must be misreading something. Maybe Mark was a coworker or a friend. But then I couldn't help it, I checked the phone again, this time sneaking a peek at their chat history. Texts got flirty, then turned explicit. Photos exchanged. Plans for secret meetups. My wife, the woman I thought I knew inside out, was carrying on a full-blown affair behind my back. I felt numb. Anger, betrayal, confusion, all hitting me like a freight train at once. How long has this been going on? Was I that oblivious? And worst of all, why? What did I do wrong? I spent the whole night scrolling through messages, piecing together dates, places, and excuses she'd told me. The lies suddenly made sense, all those working late nights, the sudden need for privacy, the weird vibe in the house. That morning, I confronted her. My hands were shaking, voice barely steady. I asked straight up, "Who's Mark? What's going on?" Her face turned pale. She froze for a second, then launched into her usual defensive mode. "It's nothing, just some stupid fling, don't make a big deal out of it," she said. But I could see the guilt in her eyes. The story she spun was full of half-truths and blatant lies. When I confronted her that morning, I wasn't prepared for the storm that followed. I asked calmly at first, but the moment I mentioned Mark's name, she snapped. "Are you seriously accusing me without proof?" she yelled. Then, just like that, the sweet woman I married turned into this cold, bitter version of herself. She said things that cut deep. "Maybe if you weren't so boring, I wouldn't need anyone else." Then she rolled her eyes and added, "You're always so paranoid, it's exhausting." I tried to stay calm, but it was impossible. I told her I had read the messages, seen the pictures. She lied outright, said it was just some harmless flirting, that she was lonely because I was never around. "You don't even notice me anymore," she said, as if that made cheating okay. Then the classic gaslighting began. "You're imagining things. I didn't mean to hurt you. You're blowing this out of proportion." I felt like I was going crazy. How could she be so heartless? So cold? It was like she wanted to break me down with every word. At one point, she even tried to turn it around, blaming me for pushing her away and not meeting her needs. I was shocked, I had no idea how disconnected we'd become, but that wasn't an excuse for betrayal. The conversation ended with her storming out, slamming the door behind her. I was left sitting there, heart pounding, hands trembling, not knowing what to believe anymore. After that confrontation, I was a mess. I couldn't eat, sleep, or focus on anything. My mind kept replaying every single moment, every word she said, every lie I uncovered. The house felt empty even though she was still there sometimes. I didn't know if I was more angry or heartbroken. Some nights I just sat in the dark, staring at my phone, hoping for some kind of answer or maybe a miracle. But nothing came. The woman I loved was suddenly a stranger, and that realization hit me harder than I ever imagined. I kept questioning myself, did I miss the signs? Was I not good enough? Was our whole marriage a lie? Every little thing reminded me of her betrayal, the coffee mug she always left on the counter, the scent of her perfume on my shirt, the quiet spaces where laughter used to be. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and lost. At times, I wanted to scream at the world, and other times I just wanted to disappear. I also felt this weird mix of anger and pity. Anger for what she did, but pity because I realized she was unhappy too, trapped in something neither of us could fix. It was like my whole world was shattered into pieces, and I wasn't sure if I could ever put it back together again. After days of sleepless nights and a constant whirlwind of emotions, I knew I had to make a decision. Stay and try to fix something that felt broken beyond repair? Or walk away and try to save whatever was left of my dignity and peace? I talked to a close friend, someone who's been through a similar situation. He told me, "You don't owe anyone your forgiveness. You owe yourself peace." I realized that no matter how much I loved her, trust was the foundation of any relationship. And once that foundation is cracked, it's damn hard to rebuild. I decided to sit down with her again, calmly, and tell her what I felt. I needed honesty, not excuses, not lies, no more pretending. When we talked, I told her straight, I'm hurt. I'm angry. But most of all, I'm tired of being lied to. She looked at me with that same bitter look and said, maybe we both made mistakes. Maybe we're not the people we thought we were. That was the hardest moment. Accepting that the person I loved was different than the one I married. I told her I needed time apart to figure out what I really wanted. Whether that was staying together or moving on. It wasn't an easy choice, and I'm still not 100% sure what the future holds. But I know I deserve honesty and respect. After that conversation, things between us were different. We started sleeping in separate rooms. The silence in the house was deafening. It was like we were strangers living under the same roof, avoiding each other's eyes. She kept acting like nothing had happened, scrolling on her phone, watching TV, pretending we were fine. But I felt like I was unraveling inside. Friends and family started asking questions, but I just shrugged it off. How do you explain to people that your wife cheated, lied, and then acted like it was no big deal? I was stuck in this limbo, not fully broken up, but not together either. Every day felt like walking on eggshells, waiting for the next blow-up or the next lie. Sometimes I caught her looking at me with a mix of guilt and annoyance, and I didn't know what to say or do. It was exhausting. And honestly, some days I wondered if it was even worth fighting for. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, I found out there was more to the story. A mutual friend accidentally spilled that Mark wasn't the only guy. There had been others, at least 2 more, and she'd been juggling lies for months. I confronted her again, and this time she didn't even try to deny it. She was bitter and unapologetic. Said things like, if you cared, you'd have noticed sooner, and maybe I was looking for what you couldn't give me. That stung more than the affair itself. The realization that I was just a placeholder while she went looking for excitement elsewhere. It broke something inside me. The trust was gone, but also my self-respect was crushed. I reached my breaking point. The house felt like a prison. Every day was a reminder of betrayal and lies. I couldn't take the fake smiles or the cold silences anymore. I told her I needed space, real space, not just sleeping apart but actually living separate lives. I started looking for a place to stay, trying to figure out how to move forward. The hardest part was accepting that the woman I thought I loved had changed into someone I barely recognized. I cried more times than I can count. I questioned if I could ever trust again. But deep down, I knew I had to choose myself first. At this point, I realized I couldn't handle everything alone. I started opening up to close friends and even saw a therapist to help me process the mess inside my head. Talking about it helped more than I expected. It was like lifting a weight off my chest, hearing that I wasn't crazy for feeling hurt or confused. My friends reminded me that I deserve better, that love without trust isn't love at all. Therapy gave me tools to manage the roller coaster of emotions, anger, sadness, guilt, and helped me start rebuilding my sense of self. I started focusing on me for the first time in years. Eating better, exercising, and slowly finding small moments of peace. It wasn't easy, and some days were worse than others, but having support made the darkness a little less overwhelming. After weeks of pain and soul-searching, I started to reflect on everything: the marriage, the betrayal, and myself. I realized that love alone isn't enough. You need respect, honesty, and trust. Without those, a relationship is just a house built on sand. I also understood that sometimes, people change. Sometimes, no matter how much you want things to work, they just don't. I learned not to blame myself for her choices. Her cheating was her decision, not a reflection of my worth. Most importantly, I discovered my own strength. I could survive this. I could move on. That didn't mean I was over it, far from it. But I knew I could face the future with my head held high. Deciding what to do next wasn't easy. Part of me wanted to try saving the marriage, but most of me knew things had changed forever. We started going to counseling, but it felt forced. She wasn't truly sorry, and I wasn't ready to forgive. I realized healing takes time, maybe years, and I wasn't willing to stay in a relationship that didn't feel real anymore. So I began planning my exit. Finding a new apartment, sorting finances, and mentally preparing to live alone again. It was scary, but also empowering. For the first time in a long while, I was doing something just for me. Letting go was the hardest part. There were moments I wanted to call her, beg for answers, or just hear her voice one last time. But I knew that holding on to the past would only keep me stuck. I started focusing on forgiveness, not for her, but for myself. To free myself from the anger and pain. I learned that acceptance doesn't mean forgetting. It means understanding what happened and choosing to move forward anyway. Some days were easier, some days felt like starting over, but every step was progress. I started imagining a future where I was happy again, without the shadow of betrayal hanging over me. As time passed, I started to rediscover who I was outside of the relationship. It felt like waking up after a long nightmare. I picked up old hobbies I had abandoned, spent more time with friends, and even started dating again, slowly. It wasn't easy, trust issues lingered, and the fear of being hurt again was real. But each small step reminded me that I was still capable of love and happiness. I realized that sometimes losing someone who was toxic is actually a blessing in disguise. This journey taught me that self-love and respect are the foundation of any healthy relationship. Eventually, I made peace with the past and started building a new future. It wasn't about forgetting her or what happened, it was about choosing to live for myself. I found new passions, set new goals, and focused on becoming the best version of me. Dating again was a challenge, but I took it slow, learning to trust my instincts and set boundaries. Most importantly, I promised myself never to settle for less than I deserve. This experience was brutal, but it taught me resilience, self-worth. Looking back, this whole experience has been one of the hardest chapters of my life. But it also taught me so much. I wish I had trusted my gut earlier and not ignored the signs. I wish I had valued myself enough to walk away sooner. Most of all, I learned that betrayal isn't a reflection of your worth, it's a reflection of someone else's choices. To anyone going through something similar, please know this: you deserve honesty. You deserve respect. And above all, you deserve peace. Don't let anyone make you feel less than you are. Take your time to heal. Surround yourself with people who lift you up. And remember, sometimes the hardest endings lead to the best new beginnings. Thanks for listening to my story. If you found this compelling, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss more real-life stories like this. Your support means everything.